Hello everyone, it's me again, Elena with All Things by Faith. I am going to try to make this as short as possible. I do have a lot of things to discuss and talk about, and I'm in a very melancholy energy right now. I had an extremely intense healing session with Jolie Rowe yesterday, and I have been clearing a lot of energy since yesterday, and she was able to peel off some layers that really needed to be shed as far as some deep wounding and healing that I needed. So I've been crying, I've been back and forth with emotion. Like I'm always telling my clients, when the emotion comes up, let it go, acknowledge it and let it go. This was really difficult because I had a very poignant conversation with her, and she was honest as always, very kind but honest, and told me that I needed to let some things I've been clinging to very tightly go. And I think I already knew that. Um, and she told me I needed to start dating again. She told me that I needed to just basically let the chips fall where they may. And if something's meant to be, then it's meant to be. And if it's not, then, but my energy, this has been draining my energy greatly. And so I've been in kind of a little bit of a mourning state, and then also just all the energy that's been coming up around that, and also all kinds of other things, because it was a personal session, so I'm not going to go into everything with you guys because it was my personal session, but there was a lot that needed to be cleared, and I do energy work on myself all the time, but it's different when Julie works on you. It's different when someone else works on you, period. Julie has practitioners that also work on her. So I'm sure she would tell you the same thing. It's different when somebody else works on you and kind of can sometimes peel layers back that you're not quite getting to, you're not quite seeing, because it's your own stuff sometimes. And so it can be difficult. But anyway, and I just also want to say that I need to be very respectful and careful not to speak for Jolie Rowe or put words in her mouth. I want to be very careful about what I say in this video. But I did find it interesting. I had a lot of questions that have been coming up personally, things that have been coming up in my visions, and things that I've been feeling and things that I've been seeing about the gathering and church camps and stuff, and about tithing and the church's 501c3 status, and just other things. And these things have also been coming up for my clients, a lot of my clients. And so I'm just going to kind of go through them. And Julie did say, as we talked about these things, that especially the gathering to church camps, which I'm about to talk to, that there is a lot of fear energy around this, and that it comes up almost every day with her in sessions with her clients as well. So she is thinking about doing a video about it. And I also asked her to please do a video about tithing and something else that I have in my notes here, that I guess I will get to in a minute. But so I just need to be careful and not speak for Julie. She can speak for herself very well, and she will be doing videos as she feels prompted, or podcasts as she feels prompted to do so about these issues. But I just want to say that as I was pondering and making notes after my session, the angels gave me the song in my head, God of Revival by Bethel Music, and I'm going to put a link for that below. But I felt it was very fitting after the session that I had, for them to give me this song, and it is an amazing song. So I will put the link below. And then Julie and Eric also put out on her blog post day before yesterday. It's called The Sobering Prophecies of Our Day. And it's basically a study guide. It has a lot of questions we should be asking ourselves and as saints, and then it has scriptures to study, and there's a theme, and her and Eric are trying to guide people into figuring out this theme and figuring out some things on their own. So I'm not gonna go into what I've initially figured out. I need to study it more this weekend. I've just been extremely exhausted since yesterday. Um, but Yeah, I will put the link to her email, to her blog post, to this particular blog post, Sobering Prophecies of Our Day, and the study questions and everything. I found it extremely interesting, so the link will be below for that. Also, Pastor Dana Coverstone, put out recently another video that one of my clients sent me and asked me if I had seen it, and I had not, and I watched it and I found it interesting, and the Spirit revealed some things to me in it. But one of the things he mentioned that he saw in the vision, or he heard in the vision, was the phrase solemn assemblies. Call your solemn assemblies, I believe is what he saw or what he heard. And and he's talking about the month of September, which is next month. So I found this really interesting, and then I went and looked up in the topical guide in the Gospel Library, the app I have. I looked up all the scriptures that have to do with solemn assemblies, and I read them, and there seems to be a general theme there that I found very interesting too. But again, I want everybody to use their own critical thinking skills and for you to look into these things on your own, and for the Spirit to reveal things as the Lord sees fit to you. But I will link that video to Pastor Coverstone below as well. But anyway, getting back to the things. So one of the things, I've been having a lot of questions surrounding tithing. I've always, believed in tithing. But Julie kind of made something clear to me. And again, I want to be careful not to speak for her, but our tithing is meant to be to the Lord. It's not really, for any church organization. It is for the Lord, and there's many different ways we can do that. So I'm going to leave it up to her to go into that in a further video. If she decides to do that, I believe she will. I'm just not sure how soon. She's also very busy doing a lot of things. But she did say that when I mentioned to her, I said, I would love for you to do a video on this. And she said, well, maybe I will. And she said, the soonest I could do it would be a few days. But, and so it sounded like she was going to do one at some point. So I'm going to leave all of this for everybody's own prayerful consideration, because I know that's a sticky spot for a lot of people. But I've been having a lot of revelations around it, and I have actually talked to some of my clients that I felt prompted to speak to them about it. I have gone in depth in my feelings about it. And I did have a conversation with her about it, especially because, the church is very involved with the World Health Organization now and giving them a lot of money and all of this. Okay, the other thing that's really been heavily bothering me that I talked to her about as well is that, when we first went into lockdown around COVID, and I've talked to a lot of my clients about this, they allowed us to go into other members' homes to get the sacrament, because I don't have a priesthood holder in my home that can serve the sacrament at this time. So I was able to go across the street to a family in my ward, and we get along great. And I went over there and took the sacrament and felt very comfortable and peaceful in their home. It was really nice to do this, and they appreciated me being there. They were like, "We'd love to have you come every Sunday," And then like 3 days later, midweek, before the following weekend, the church issued the statement that was no longer going to be allowed, that you could only get it to just your immediate family members. And then I got something from the stake saying, oh, we're going to make sure that everybody in the ward gets the sacrament at least once a month, but you can't go into other members' homes to do this. That the bishopric and the elders quorum or whatever would go around and do this. And it hasn't been done. No one's contacted me, not once. And the Lord knows my heart, and he knows that I would wish to be taking the sacrament, and that I'm being denied the sacrament. And when the church put this statement out that we couldn't do this, I felt the weightiness of it, and I felt to the very tips of my being, to every part of my soul, that it was wrong, for them to do that. And some of you may criticize me for criticizing church leaders or whatever, but we have to be critical thinking beings with our own agency. We have to be able to think on our own and for ourselves. And for me, it was witnessed to me very strongly through the Spirit that that was incorrect, that that should not be happening, that they should not be denying people the sacrament. And when I discussed this with Julie, she said the same thing. She said, no, it is wrong, and that they should not be denying people the sacrament. So that gave me a second witness, because, and other people that I've talked to, other clients that feel the same way, that are in a similar situation to me, they also felt that it was wrong. So it's just, it's frustrating, but it's one of these things with the cleansing of the church and the separation of the wheat and tares in these last days. And we need to be vigilant, and we need to really pay attention to what's being decreed from our church leaders, what's coming down from the, trickling down from the top. And we need to take all things to the Lord, and not just believe what we're being told. Not in this pivotal time, not in this very pivotal time that we're in right now. Okay. And then the big question, something that I've been seeing, and I've also discussed this with many of my clients, because a lot of people feel the same way. For a time, I when I first moved here, I really thought that I would, I would go to a church camp, I would gather to a church camp. And then for the last several months, I've been kind of being showed that by the Lord, like, no, you're not. You're going to gather with other saints, but you're not going to go to a church camp. And I didn't really quite understand what that meant until the last month or so, when I've been seeing more clearly in vision. And I'm not sure if I'm going to end up like outside of Boise somewhere or outside of Rexburg somewhere. I feel like I could end up maybe both places at different times. I'm not sure. But I've actually had clients, the reason that, okay, let me be clear on this. A lot of clients are telling me that they are afraid, that there is fear energy about gathering to church camps because of the same reasons that I have felt. And when I brought these things up to Julie, she said that this comes up almost every day with clients, with her own clients, and that she feels that she's going to, she's probably going to do a podcast about this as well. Because what's happening is people that have truth, that have expanded on their truth through the Spirit, and that aren't just listening, that are actually thinking for themselves and aren't just listening to what we're being told by church leadership. They are participating in energy healing. They are learning energy healing. They're having energy work done on themselves. They're learning how to do it on themselves and for their families. And they're seeing the great benefits of it. They're understanding through the Spirit that it goes hand in hand with the priesthood, and that there's nothing wrong with it. And they're afraid that if they gather to these church camps, they'll have to either put on a false mask, hide what they're doing, or do it in their own privacy and hope they don't get caught, doing it inside their tent or whatever. Or, and basically they feel like this is not being righteous. This is having to hide truth and light. And basically it's having to put, hide our light under a bushel. And we've been taught not to do that. Like through the Spirit, we know that when we're given these gifts of being healed or healing, that's something to share. That's not something that we should be hiding. That's not a light we should be hiding under a bushel. And we know what happens to gifts that we don't use or hide. They get taken away. So, this has been a big fear for people. I've had fear energy around it myself. I believe that she cleared a lot of that for me yesterday. But I'll tell you what I told her that I saw that she basically confirmed, okay? And then she said something that I found really interesting. So I told her that I'm seeing that there will be a lot of saints that will gather together, that they won't necessarily go to church encampments, that they will gather onto maybe perhaps say a family of Latter-day Saints owns a lot of property or has a ranch or something, and they feel, or been feeling for quite some time like maybe they're not supposed to go to a church camp. And then what happens is they invite other like-minded saints who have more truth and more light to gather there with them, people that they feel prompted to have gather with them. And, that's what I see. I see a lot of camps like this, some large, some small, of like-minded saints gathering together for protection, to share their resources, share their food storage, share their knowledge of the Lord, and all of this, for protection. And Julie confirmed that. And then she also said that she wanted to make it clear to me that she had never written in a book or said to anyone that those who would be going back to build Zion would be those who have been gathered in church camps. She never said that. That's just been an assumption. And I had to kind of sit there for a second and think, wow, I think I had actually totally assumed that for quite a while, until the last several months when all of this has been coming up in my mind. And then, recently I had a client tell me, that if they ended up staying on their property, because this was a concern that they had too, and so they had brought it up and we were discussing this, and they had said, if we end up staying on our property, you and your family are more than welcome to come gather here. So I believe it's kind of already starting. And then I had another client let me know, they live in the Salt Lake City area, and in a conversation with him, he said that many of the saints in their area, from several different wards, have been gathering together outside of church function, because you can't really go to church right now. I think some are kind of opening up, but and that they've been talking about how they're going to protect each other, how they're going to help each other, how they're going to meet the needs of the Latter-day Saint community when everything goes to heck in a handbasket, And I thought, wow, that is really cool, because they're not doing it, they're not being guided by their bishopric to do it or anything else. They're doing it because they're being guided by the Lord. And this is why our connection to the Spirit and our connection to the Lord is so pivotal and so important in these last days. And so I just wanted to mention all of these things because I found my conversation fascinating. It was great to get a second witness from Julie on the things that I had been feeling. And yeah, I think I already talked about I talked about the Dana Coverstone video as well. But the biggest thing about the Pastor Dana Coverstone's video, was that when he talks about the solemn assemblies, it was just like, it pierced me. It pierced my heart. Like I felt the Spirit just extremely strongly. And then I looked up, all that in Gospel Library. I looked it up in the Topical Guide and looked at all those scriptures. But this is probably one of the most important videos I've ever made. I think everybody needs to start thinking about, how important is it going to be when the gathering is called to be able to be your authentic self, to be able to be your authentic self in and for the Lord, and to help as many people as you can to come to the truth. The other thing people are worried about is they do believe that, that we've had, in the probation doctrine, that there's other probations, and that they also believe that this is real and that this is truth, that Julie has shared as well, and they know that this wouldn't be accepted within a church camp either, but it's like, one that was organized by the church itself. So it's like, what do? Do you risk it and gather all your belongings, all your resources to a church camp, a church organized camp, and then what if you and your family get kicked out? You're going to have to leave with what you can carry, you know, which probably isn't going to be all your resources and things. So, I mean, it's really, I would just advise everybody to really start fasting and praying about these things, and getting in touch with the Lord and figuring out exactly where and who you're supposed to gather with, or ask the Lord to show you. And don't be afraid and don't stress out, because everything will play out the way that it's supposed to. But just, this is something I know a lot of you have already been thinking about anyway. But it may be time to really start asking the Lord, okay, what and where am I supposed to gather to? Because I don't want to hide my light under a bushel. I want to be able to use my spiritual gifts and the things that I know to be true to not only help people get out of toxic perfectionism in the gospel, to like show them, the truth about the things that we've learned with multiple probation and energy healing and the priesthood and all of these things, or do I just take my chances and gather and keep my mouth shut? And that, just even saying that, is difficult for me to say. It just feels so wrong. But that's me, and that's how I feel, and that's what I've been shown. And everybody, about everything that I've said in this video, you need to take all of these things to the Lord and ask and study these things out in your mind. I would really hope that you look at all the different links that I put below, and go to them and study the things out in your own mind with the Lord. And I say these things in the name of Jesus Christ. And I also want to say thank you to a couple of my clients who knew, they could just feel that I was having a rough couple days, a rough 24 hours. And they've reached out to me and sent me things and texts and things, and just uplifting things, knowing that I was struggling. And I just, I really needed that. This journey's tough, and I know we all know that. And it's been hard for me to go within and release a lot of these energies and these things that, I need to do. And I'm really grateful for this little tribe of like-minded saints that call me friend and call me teacher. That's very humbling. And I'm just very grateful for all of you, and I'm grateful for my Savior and for the healing that He's providing me in this time. I'm grateful for Julie and the healing that she always provides me as well, through the Lord and the power of the atonement. And I'm grateful for the work that I'm able to do for all of you. And I say these things in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.